Hello, and welcome to the Mzansi Soccer Show on One World Sports Radio. It is 2021, so we'll say Happy New Year to you all. Hope you have a wonderful New Year's. I was about to say happy birthday because it was Thabang's birthday yesterday. So let's all wish Thabang a very happy birthday from the Mzansi Football Soccer Show family and also One World Sports Radio team. And you are a legend amongst men, and happy birthday. We won't tell them how old you are, but let's just say you are entering the final year of your contract as a footballer. So hope you enjoy that in 2021. Huh?
As the final decade of my footballing years.
Yeah, so we've taken a break, team man. How was your festive break? Did you watch any PSL? Did you watch that Sundowns and Pirates game over on New Year's Day, was it? Yeah, it was on New Year's Day. It was really odd.
Yeah, on the 2nd. It was on the 2nd of Jan. I did watch the game. As you said, as we've always been saying on the show, our two front runners for the PSL title, based on players and potential of players, based on quality and high caliber of players, is Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs. Orlando Pirates.
We'll talk about them.
Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns. So that was the most anticipated game of the year, and I think that's what the PSL did. They put that game first to kind of get the excitement back after the mid-season break. And I did watch the game. Sundowns dominating as always, and Sundowns are really taking the league in their stride. Obviously honouring their two players who unfortunately have passed away. Former two players, Madisha and Anil Mona.
Yeah, no, that Mucheka Madisha story is unbelievable. I don't think he's been buried yet, and that's a tough one. But team man, let's move on. Let's just let our viewers please remember that you can interact with us on these platforms, on Facebook, which we're live on Twitter, which we're also live on at One World SR. We have an Instagram page and also a YouTube page, so do follow us on those platforms. You can also send your comments in live if you're watching us. You want to send through a comment, we'll play it on the screen and we'll discuss it. Team man, we wanted to talk about something big in South African football. That's what the show is about. It's about South African football. And we've got incredible things. We saw Kgaugelo Chauke making his debut on the bench for Southampton last week. And now we have our golden jewel, our star boy. He was called back because obviously Brexit happened, and we're really happy about Brexit happening because now there's no longer a massive amount of admin to do for the to get our players into England. And Percy Tau made his debut on Sunday night, very late, 10 p.m. The nation was up. We watched. He came on with about I think it was about 15 minutes to. It was 30 minutes to go. Yeah, he had quite a lot of time. It was 20 minutes to go, and then he had extra time as well because Brighton, seemingly his teammates just don't know what to do with the football right now. But T-Man, how was that? How excited were you?
No, I was very excited, Mpho, because as you know very well, Mpho, the theme of our show, Mpho, in terms of what we aspire for our footballers, Mpho, is for our players to dominate in Europe, Mpho, to establish themselves in Europe, Mpho, to fly to raise the South African flag up high in Europe, Mpho, and that's what Percy Tau has done, Mpho. Percy Tau started, Mpho, I don't know if you recall, back in the MDC, the multi-choice Diski Challenge, under playing for Sundowns, under the guidance of Alex Mapela. He got promoted to Mamelodi Sundowns' first team, was taken on loan to Witbank Spurs, Mpho, by Peter Musimani, Mpho. He came back, Mpho, and he was a starlet in the PSL, winning the PSL Player of the Season, winning the league with Sundowns, also winning the CAF Champions League. And then Mpho, he was the record transfer for 50 million rand at the time, Mpho, to Brighton at the time, signed by Chris Hughton. Unfortunately, what happened at the time, Mpho, was given South Africa's low ranking, Mpho, and that's why South African fans are so hungry, Mpho, for players to play in the EPL, Mpho, is that we haven't had players playing in the EPL for a number of years. Our last player playing in the EPL was Tukela Ranti, Mpho, but it's when he was playing
for Bournemouth, yeah.
It's been ages, Mpho. Tukela Ranti is now no longer playing competitive football at the moment, Mpho. And as we said earlier on, Mpho, he had to go on loan. He went to on loan at the Royal team in the first
division in Belgium.
But I can't pronounce that unique name. Obviously, Mpho has been to Holland before. He knows how to pronounce and Paul has done France at St. John's back in his day, so he knows how to pronounce these European names. But as you said, he was patient, Mpho. People, I myself I also used to complain. I used to send you WhatsApps in the mornings for saying, "Probably playing, but there's no fans in the stadium." It was like almost like it was third division, Mpho. But he was patient, Mpho. And through that patience, Mpho, he went from there to play against Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu. He
Club
played against
Brugge.
PSG. He played against PSG in France. He played against the big teams. That's why I'm so passionate about this Percy Tau story. He's really, really flown the flag high. He's been patient. He's been disciplined. And look at what happened at Anderlecht. He just spent 6 months there. He had a good attitude. The coach Vincent Company gave him a very good fitting send off. Anderlecht gave him a very fitting send off, and within moments of his debut for Brighton, the commentators were astounded. The fans were amazed. The Brighton fans are singing his praises. He had some really good touches up front in those 30 minutes. It was a good cameo appearance for Percy Tau. He was creating assists, making runs. And you saw very well the Emirates FA Cup Twitter account was praising Percy Tau for some of his touches.
Yeah.
So I think I've gotten a bit carried away, but
No, that's fine. But you know his story, and that's why we love it, because that's why we have you on, because I'm more technical. You know this backstory to a lot of these to a lot of the players, and I'm happy that you can bring it through, because for me, I remember when I told you when we saw the Percy thing, I knew from the get-go that he wasn't going to play for Brighton that season, and he had to go find a place in Europe. I was happy that it was Belgium, because I think that the Belgian league is good at developing players because Percy was still young. I think Percy's 26, and that gives him a good. If he does well this season, he's going to enter into the final year of his contract next year, and I'm sure they'll probably extend him if he does well in these 6 months. And then if he does well, and hopefully even if Brighton get relegated, he's still in England. And I think for me that's important, because even in the Championship, it's still very competitive. Yes, you want him to play against the best, but if he can get a very nice contract at the end of this year when they extend him, if they want to extend him, or if they want to wait until the end of next season, then that brings in other clubs from elsewhere in Europe. So for me, I'm very happy. I love the way he started. I think because obviously when he played on Sunday, you kind of knew he was going to be involved somehow. I was hoping he'd be involved with Brighton winning 2-0 or leading somehow, but clearly he's joined a team, and I say this with the utmost respect, a team of scrubs. Like, honestly, what was going on there? Against the 4th division team, they really couldn't. Yes, I understand the pitch wasn't great, but they knew about this a week before. You can prepare for such things. And it kind of shows you mentioned, you tweeted a comment, I think on Sunday before the game started, about the pitch at was Newport in Wales. And you said that Percy's played on such guys in South Africa. We've seen things. We've seen some pitches, and he looked the most comfortable in that side, being able to play in those tough conditions. Leandro Trossard, who plays for the world's best football team in Belgium, really struggled. You know, you had guys like Neil Mope, who was their top goal scorer last season. You had midfielders like Yves Bissouma, who's rumored to be looking for a big money move into the top 4. He definitely is a top 4 defensive midfielder, but they really struggled. But Percy was the one guy. He was coming into space. He was moving around. He was doing the things that you expect from a striker, and we've known from Percy all the while. And yes, obviously there was a shot that he really missed in extra time where I thought he should have put it in the top corner. But you're going to get those, and those will come with time. So really excited about Percy, but it's not all about Percy. He's probably going to play against Manchester City, so that's going to be very exciting. I hope you, if you're listening and you're a viewer and you do FPL, I tried to get Percy in my team. I just can't. At 5.5, it's a little bit too much, but maybe in the coming, he'll be a mainstay in my team, because I really do think he's great. Teammate, we need to move on. We're going to talk about a topic, but let's go through the fixtures as we normally do on the show. We go through what happened over the results of the weekend, and then we discuss, and then we talk. We take our topic from there. So here these are the fixtures, and the fixtures again. The results of the Dstv Premiership this weekend. Stellenbosch 1-0 draw against Black Leopards. Baroka losing to Mamelodi Sundowns 2-0. Supersport United going to third on the log with a 3-0 win against TS Galaxy. Golden Arrows remaining undefeated this season. 1-0 victors against Chippa United, who fired a coach, and we'll talk about that. TTM, Thabang's favorite team, 2-2 against Cape Town City with a very awkward, with the PSL team sheet Twitter tweets there. Come on, TTM, we'll try a little bit better there. The big one, and we're going to talk about this, Kaizer Chiefs losing 2-0 to Maritzburg United, who reunited with their former coach, that is Ernst Middendorp, who is Kaizer Chiefs' former coach. He took Chiefs to number 2. And then you also have Bloem Celtic drawing to Amazulu on the Sunday, and Orlando Pirates drawing to Morocco Swallows. T-Man, outside of the Kaizer Chiefs and Maritzburg game, which we're going to talk about, what other results surprised you? Were you happy with? I think from my perspective, I love the whole Supersport United. They seem to be on a run of games. In the last 5, they've won 3. They look very good, and I think they're a dark horse coming through. And we'll talk about a game they have on Saturday, which is going to be very important. I think they did quite well. Sundowns are turning. Someone tweeted that Sundowns are turning this into a farmers league, which is possible. Which is like the French league where it's just PSG and everybody else. But like I look at this, and the only team that's done well this weekend actually is Maritzburg United. That win took them out of the relegation zone. Took them to 9 points. They've been struggling with only 2 wins this season, and they brought themselves back. Are there any other fixtures, the results that you were happy with?
No, as you said, Supersport are on a great run at the moment under the guidance of Kaitana Tembo. One thing to note about Supersport United is Bradley Grobler equaled Abram Rasulimani's record for goals at Supersport United, which is a very, very strong very strong record that he's beaten there. Bradley Mpho. Remember, he started at Platinum Stars. He was a youngster, Mpho, and he's been really, really doing well. One of the top out-and-out strikers in the PSL at the moment. He's really, really shown maturity. He was a youngster at Platinum Stars, played in the Supersport Under-19 tournament under Platinum Stars, and is now evolved into one of the best strikers in the PSL. So good to see Supersport Mpho. Finally, in my view, the top 3 teams in the PSL should be Mamelodi Sundowns, Orlando Pirates, and Supersport United. Finally, good to see Supersport United coming.
Not even Cape Town City.
I'd put Supersport United ahead of Cape Town City. Remember that Supersport United have a great blend of experience in the form of very, very experienced players who are really, really taking them, and a good blend of youth in the form of Mbule, the likes of Mbule, Kamkholo Mokoena, those kinds of players. So I think Supersport United, they've got the good blend going for them over there.
And then T-Man, that bottom fixture, the Orlando Pirates and Morocco Swallows. Morocco Swallows being the new boys in the Premier League. They're currently second on the log, chasing Sundowns. Pirates are 6th. Yes, there was some refereeing, and we're not here to talk about the refereeing. Swallows just keeping that run going. That's very good. It must be very good for the Swallows fans, because I'm sure they were worried that they'd be going back to the Glad Africa Championship, and they're 8 points away from safety. Essentially, with 30 points being the benchmark as to where teams get relegated and fighting for relegation. They're 8 points away with 22 right now. They're playing very good football.
They're playing excellent football. They've really, really surprised us this season. They made a whole bunch of signings. And one thing that you really wonder about a team is that when they've made a large crop of signings, will those signings gel together? Will they play very well? And what we've seen with PSL teams, teams coming from the National First Division coming to the PSL, but sometimes when they get those players, it takes a while for them to gel. It takes a while for them to find their rhythm. And unfortunately, they find themselves going straight back to the NFD. But that's the opposite with Swallows. They've really benefited from the experience of Lebogang Cheese Boy Mokoena, and also Vuyo Mere, who's playing in his 20th season in the PSL. Vuyo Mere used to play a team called Hellenic. I'm sure many of our viewers were in nappies at the time when
so many of our viewers don't even know there was a club called Hellenic.
We're very played for Hellenic. Swallows are doing very, very well. And they've also got one of their top players, Kamil D. He scored a brace midweek.
Yeah.
He's doing very well. He was discarded at Chippa United. He was offloaded. And those are the good stories that we're going to see in the PSL. A team, a player who's hungry to redeem himself. And Kamil Dean has really put his hand up. Remember, he played for Bloemfontein Celtic a couple of years
Yes,
back.
yes, he did.
And that's
Yes.
when he showed his potential. That's when he showed his firepower as a midfielder and attacking player who can get in goals for you. And he's continued where he left off. And that's great to see in terms of.
But Tim, as you know, cheaper is where footballing dreams go to die. Now let's actually talk about the one team. I'm going to add this again. Kaizer Chiefs, Maritzburg United. That was the game of the round. Chiefs losing 2-0 to Maritzburg United. What do you make of that loss? Because as Chiefs fans all around the country, they're really worried now. Do you consider Kaizer Chiefs as a relegation team? Because I know in the last episode that we did before the break, you said three wins and you're back in it. You're in the top 8. You're looking at. So when I was looking at the table today, and I was trying to figure out, okay, so where does 3 wins get us? But the 3 wins would be Amazulu tomorrow, and then it would be Cape Town City over the weekend, and then Chiefs plays TTM on Tuesday next week. So if you look at it, it would take 12 points on top of the 7 takes them to 19. And that gets them in and around 4, 5, and 6. Yes, but the problem is that can we consider them relegation? Because the eye tells me that these guys are playing relegation style football. They can't defend. Players are playing out of position. Senior players seem to be on holiday on the field, and also this team is struggling to score. That in itself is a recipe for disaster. Outside of the fact that Kaizer Chiefs is playing, and on top of that, add CAF, because that's the 5th one. CAF is the big problem here for me, because the longer they stay in, and this CAF tournament is going to go up until mid-March, which means that if, for instance, Kaizer Chiefs still can't win games, they'll find themselves in a situation where CAF will be the stone that drags them down. Now, the question I have for you, where is the problem? Is it Gavin Hunt? Is it the transfer ban? Or is it the players? How much? So if you have a pie, it's your birthday, so your birthday cake, what percentage of your birthday cake would you give from a blaming perspective to Gavin Hunt, to the players, and to certainly, let's say, management because of the transfer ban?
Okay. Well, firstly, before I get to your blame question, I'm just going to take you back a couple of weeks ago when Kaizer Chiefs played against Black Leopards. Mitumela Nkune was in goals. It was 2 consecutive games. It was Black Leopards, and then it was I think the following game was SuperSport United, whereby Mitumela Nkune goal kick, and he passed it straight to the opposition. He passed it straight to the opposition. Players came back and they scored a goal. How can Gavin Hunt change change schoolboy errors like that from experienced players such as Tumela Nkune? He doesn't have that backing. He can't do some of those things. I take you back to this weekend. One of the goals scored by Judas Musiamedi. It was a throw in. He trapped it, he turned around and he shot and he scored. How can, as a defender, how can someone turn you? He gets a throw in, he traps the ball and he turns and he shoots and he scores.
Timan, before you move on, that Judas goal that had Mphahlele in 6s and 7s. I have a question for you. What is Mphahlele doing at centre back when Ngezana and Cardoso are playing right back and left back respectively? How is he putting a team forward when a guy who's played right back his entire career? I understand he's old now. I understand, yes, maybe he's old, he's more comfortable at centre back, and you've tried him this season. But in this case of having Ngezana at right back, when Ngezana's been a centre back all his career, Cardoso's been a very good centre back, even though he's been let down by his keeper. How are you then going to blame Ramahle Mphahlele, who, yes, he should know better, we understand that, but he's not a natural centre back? And you literally just flip the defensive line over and above, which is why I feel the blame needs to go to Gavin Hunt for things like that.
But Mphahlele, he's a versatile defender. He played at centre back for Mamelodi Sundowns when Kaizer Chiefs signed him. When he started out in the PSL for Morocco Swallows, he played as a centre back. His non-natural position is the right back position. His natural position is the centre back. But I understand what you're saying in terms of Ngezana and Daniel Cardoso. Their natural positions are in the centre.
And also at left back, Mtiantia was on the bench, Sassman was on the bench. They are much better on the left, and they're naturally left-footed. And the other thing I don't get with Gavin Hunt is this obsession with Anthony Agay. I get he's tall, I get he's big, and I know I know coaches like these big players, but he's very slow. And he's slow in midfield. And so when a player is slow in midfield, coaches tend to be like, oh no, let's move him to centre back. And I get the whole Matoa was unavailable, and Gavin Hunt's playing. They played in Angola. They only had probably a day to recuperate. On top of that, this whole COVID thing that's going around the country. So I get it's very hard. But from a tactics perspective, T-Man, surely you have to give some of that blame cake to Gavin Hunt.
No, 100%, Mpho, 100%. And as I said, Mpho, as I said to you right now, because that some of the blame has to go to the players, Mpho. They're making schoolboy errors. They're making errors. It seems as though, Mpho, Itumeleng Khune passing the ball straight to the opposition. Mpho. Khune, he's above 30 years old, Mpho. He's gone he could have played in the World Cup 10 years ago, Mpho. That's not
11. It's 2021, 11 years ago.
11 years ago. 11 years ago. Khune started playing for Kaizer Chiefs back in 2007, Mpho. You can't expect such from such players, Mpho. You can't expect such. Mpho, he started out he's one of the most experienced players in the PSL. He started as a 17-year-old, Mpho. You know, and that's what I'm trying to say is that the experience is split across all spheres, Mpho. Gavin Hunt, Mpho, he's not selecting. He hasn't got an established starting 11 for Kaizer Chiefs. What does that do to the confidence of the players? What happened to him at Global? What happened to them? What happened to the youngsters that he started putting in? Their confidence is low at the moment. If you bring them on, they're scared to make mistakes. They make mistakes, and then the team chops and changes, and they're not given time to establish themselves. I understand. If an experienced player is not giving you 3 good games or 2 good games, I understand for you to take him off, but give the youngsters time to gel into the starting 11. They will. I mean, after time, they will get used to it. They'll gain that experience and they'll start delivering. Players like Castro, they are diabolical at the moment. He's not giving you what you expect of an attacking player. Kama Brillat, yes, our player of the season a couple of seasons ago, but he's not giving you that kind of he's not giving you that what you expect from a star player, one of the highest earners in the PSL. He needs to. You need to fight for the black and gold Kaizer Chiefs jersey, and that's not it's not what you're seeing from the players out there.
So here's my thing, and
I put the blame.
The blame.
The blame is spread across all spheres, between players, in the terms of not putting their hands up, not playing for the gold and black jersey, which is one of the biggest sports brand in South Africa. Gavin Hunt, chopping and changing the starting 11, not putting faith in his players, not putting faith in his players, and not trusting his decisions as a coach, and also, as you said earlier on, playing players out of position, and management as well. Management, in building a team, you have to have a 3-year approach, irregardless of the transfer ban. If what Kaizer Chiefs was supposed to do a couple of years ago, and what they need to do, is that you need to realize that I've got a Itumeleng Khune, I've got a Bernard Parker, I've got a Katande, players who are aging. I need to get players who are who will serve as reserve players for them in the event that something happens whereby yes, as they age, their performance goes down, or worst case scenario, injuries, or in the event, even if it's not an injury, let's regard this transfer ban as an injury, for example. And this is where we are supposed to see the second reserve or the second string of Kaizer Chiefs players coming in. Kaizer Chiefs had an established player base, and then they had the reserves. The reserves were the youngsters. They didn't have that middle that middle layer of players in Mpho who would come in and take and was supposed to take the mantle. And that's what happened. That's what we're seeing at the moment.
And I think that's what you saw with the movement to the MDC, because the MDC got a lot younger, and so those players in that middle group who are maybe journeymen in the PSL, trying to get into that first team, they went and found clubs elsewhere, and possibly even played in the Glad Africa Championship because they had a little bit more money. And my point with all of this is that this team has no identity. I don't know what Gavin Hunt's trying to do. I thought Gavin Hunt was a defensive coach, and yes, he's being let down by his players. But the fact that Gavin Hunt can't pick one goalkeeper tells me that he's struggling from a defensive perspective, because normally, even if your goalkeepers make errors, you stick with them because you're trying to build that base, that relationship between your back five, and that relationship is sacrosanct. That can't move, but it's moving every week. You'll find tomorrow when Chiefs play, they'll probably have a different back five, and that's the problem with Gavin Hunt's sides up front. I don't know what they're trying to do. Castro's not great with his head, but we're trying to cross balls in. Nurkovic, yes, is coming back, and that might give them something. But and I get you. Obviously, Kama's not playing well, and all these guys. But it feels to me that Gavin Hunt, in his years of coaching, has one method of playing, and that is having a team that's filled with wings. And he joined a team that doesn't play with wings, a team that played long ball. It was diagonal balls all the time, so wingers were not necessarily relevant. And a team that played through the lines, through the middle, with Kama and with Kama filling in that 10 role, trying to get Nurkovic and Castro the balls off the defenders, running off the defenders, and that's not happening. It just seemingly he's trying to cross the ball into a box, but no one's there because he doesn't have the personnel. Yes, Nurkovic is back, so that's a good thing. But the final question for you, T-Man, is 7 points in 9 games. How long do you think the Mutauns will be comfortable giving Gavin Hunt this reign? How long will this, if they lose, for instance, they've got 3 more games. Cape Town City is possibly going to be a loss for them. And also they play tomorrow against who they're playing tomorrow?
Amazulu.
Amazulu. Oh yeah, that one's even a tough one. And TTM. When do you think they might just say, okay, fine, Gavin, you can't manage a big team, or you can't manage us. It hasn't worked. Or are they going to wait for him to finish out the season, even though it might end up in us playing in that dreaded playoff?
But so my thinking is that unfortunately what's happened here was that Gavin Hunt is a good coach, and his CV speaks volumes for itself. But it seems though the gelling that is supposed to happen with the players, and this is why you're probably seeing players, the confidence is low from the players. The mental aspect has not synced together with the players, and that relationship or that bond that was supposed to be built. And maybe we blame the lack of a proper preseason. Maybe that's.
But everybody else had had the same preseason.
I hear you, but in terms of focusing on this particular team, that's not happened at the moment, Kaizer Chiefs are in serious danger at the moment, They have 7 points, and the two teams below them have 6 points. That's how bad. That's how dangerous it is. If Chippa wins, if Black Leopard wins, if Kaizer Chiefs draws, we lost. Kaizer Chiefs is lost on the log. It's a very dangerous scenario. So a change needs to be made in terms of next 2 games. If proper results aren't achieved, a change needs to happen. Because what's going to happen is that Kaizer Chiefs is a very strong supporter base, and unfortunately, and the brand, and that's that in terms of the brand and everything. Kaizer Chiefs cannot afford.
They will arrive at Naturena in these COVID situations, and they will kick him out himself.
Kaizer Chiefs cannot afford to be relegated. Unlike Morocco Swallows a couple of seasons ago. Morocco Swallows, the brand was going down. The fans weren't as vocal as before. Kaizer Chiefs, the fans are still there. The brand is still high. But if Kaizer Chiefs gets relegated, it's going to be for the Mutaums. It's going to fans are going to support him.
it's going to be bad for them. If you think about it, Kaizer Chiefs is the richest club and is one of the richest clubs in Africa from a value perspective.
Exactly. Nike is going to Vodacom is going to Vodacom. I stand to be correct. Does Vodacom give Kaizer Chiefs almost 50 million rand a season? And
I think so. It's a sponsorship. Yes, they pay for it.
50 million rand a season. If Kaizer Chiefs gets
it will kill their investment. It would affect. I don't even want to say half. The Glad Africa Championship is not as lucrative. Nobody watches the game. If they get relegated, it will kill the value of the team to the point where it could be even sold for close to possibly, I'd say, 40 to 50 million, or even less, because whoever's going to buy it has to buy status to get back into the Premier League, and that's already about 50 million rand, between 50 and 60 million rand. So they need to be very careful.
Very. Think about it. Think about all the sponsors that Kaizer Chiefs has. All of what's Nike's value proposition for the Glad Africa Championship? What's Vodacom's value proposition for the Glad Africa Championship? The fans are going to are going to hate them. But look what happened to Swallows. The Swallows that we're seeing is not the Swallows. The Swallows that we're seeing at the second, that's second on the PSL log. It's not the Swallows that got relegated. There had to be a couple of transactions and status acquisitions for that Swallows to come back. That proper Swallows in somewhere in the Motsepe leagues. But all I'm saying is that the brand is at stake. The possibility of losing sponsorships, and they need to be very, very careful with how they. And it's and that's what I'm saying. It's a series of errors. It's 3 seasons worth of bad transfer decisions. We can't blame Gavin Hunt now. What's happening now? It's a series. But what happened with the league? It's been ongoing. It's systemic in terms of senior players not being accountable. Senior players on social media not living the brand values of the Kaizer Chiefs. But this is the Kaizer Chiefs that John Shoes Museru played for. This is the Kaizer Chiefs that got the first transfers from the PSL to the EPL in the form of Lucas Radebe and Philemon Masinga. This is the Kaizer Chiefs that we're looking at the moment. And a club like this cannot afford to be in the relegation zone in January. In January, no way.
But T-Man, we're a third of the way through.
Yeah, but you also mentioned so it's now there's a catch-22 situation. Now they find themselves in the group stages in Africa. So it's almost so confusing.
That's what I don't get. That's what I don't get, because I've always known Kaizer Chiefs not to want to entertain any CAF arguments at all. And the year they entertain CAF arguments, the year they have a transfer ban, it's a year that they're really playing some very bad football. And it's in the year of COVID. Of all the years that I've known Kaizer Chiefs not wanting to go to Madagascar because of military, not wanting to travel to certain parts of Africa because it's going to be a little bit too much. Now all of a sudden, you want to play?
And it's unusual because they face troubles in Angola. It was extremely tough for them to play that second leg in Angola. Apparently, they weren't allowed to meet the ambassador of South Africa. They were having hotel issues. They were told to wait outside of the hotel to do COVID testing for hours on end. So it's so weird that as you said, in this year where there's so much uncertainty of playing in Africa, they're doing well in Africa. They're doing well in Africa. A question that I probably have for you, is what is the level of their opposition in Angola, if they beating teams from Angola, but they can't beat a Marisburg United?
Man.
They can't
all I'm saying is that we shall see when this group stages go as to how Kaizer Chiefs actually does, because that's my big worry. My big worry is there's going to be a fixture congestion. You're going to be behind in the PSL and at Dstv Premiership, and you're going to be you're already a game behind. You're going to be playing catch up, and it's not nice catch up like Sundowns where you're hanging around in the top 4. A couple of wins you the Premier League. Now you're trying to get yourself out of relegation, and teams have already banked points, because there's one thing. I know Jomasono understands a relegation fight because he's been there many times. And there's certain teams that understand the bottom of the table better than others. And that is why, like, when Swallows went down, it went down like a rock. It wasn't we're fighting with relegation. Oh, we missed it 1 year. Oh, we were 13th another year. Oh, we're 12th. They went from the top 8 straight out of the Premier League. And my worry with Kaizer Chiefs is that's going to happen, because they're not used to fighting relegation. They're used to winning games. They're used to trying to fight for the title.
Kaizer Chiefs needs to realize that previous PSL winners, teams that have won the PSL before, there's a team called Manning Rangers, which won the first two editions of the PSL in 1996 and 1997. It was won by Manning Rangers. Manning Rangers ceases to exist today. Santos won the PSL in 2000 under Gordon Niggerson. Santos probably does exist, but they're playing in those multiple leagues down there.
Yes, they're in the Mutepe, the one just below Glad Africa.
The one just below Glad Africa.
Yes.
Ajax Cape Town. But you remember very well when Chulani Serrero was coming up with the PSL. Ajax Cape Town nearly won the league. They lost the league on the last day of the season to Orlando Pirates. In the same way that Kaizer Chiefs lost the league against Sundowns. Ajax Cape Town ceases to exist today. Sponsorship from Adidas, from Huawei, from Ajax Amsterdam pulled out this year, last year. Ajax pulled out and sold their status. Cape Town, they now called Cape Town Spurs. I urge you, look at the Glad Africa Championship and look where that Cape Town Spurs team is. They're 15th. Kaizer Chiefs needs a serious wake up. The Bobby Mutawu and you know very well. I grew up in Soweto. I love the Kaizer Chiefs brand. It's part of my history. But they need to wake up. The management needs to wake up, because just because you have a good brand going does not mean you're indispensable. The way
one last question before we move on. Sorry, T-Man. Where do you see Kaizer Chiefs finishing this season? Are they going to make it into top 8? Or are they going to be hanging around 10, 11, 12?
They're going to hang around 10, 11, 12. Unfortunately, what's going to happen is over the next three games, I suspect that there will be one or two bad results, which will unfortunately probably lead to Kaizer Chiefs pulling the plug on Gavin Hunt. But they'll bring in someone with some experience, possibly a Gordon Niggerson, someone who has a bit of experience. I suspect it'll either be in the form of an experienced PSL coach or someone who knows the Kaizer Chiefs brand very well. Maybe an Arthur Zwane can step in and he can elevate the team and change it in the form of an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and get us to that. Because right now, I'm sure the fans, where things stand, they'll take a 10th position and they'll go forward and let's rebuild in 2022.
And that's the good thing right now, because if Chiefs wins tomorrow, they move to 11th position behind number 10 being Amazulu, depending on how large they win. The biggest problem is goal difference. So it's not over. And so I think from a Chiefs perspective, what you tell the players is, look, it's the PSL. Win 2 games in a row, you're in the top 8.
Oh yeah. So I mean, Kevin Hunt, he can change things around, but it's the mentality of the players that they just need to find those 2-3 wins. 2-3 wins takes you to 4th position. You're battling with SuperSport United and Orlando Pirates.
So okay, let's land the plane. So we've spoken a lot about Chiefs. Now let's talk quickly about the coaching hirings. Let me know what you think about these hirings. We saw Ernst Middendorp go back to Maritzburg United. Ernst was, I don't know where he was. I don't even think he left South Africa, but he's back coaching Maritzburg United. Benny McCarthy, the new signing, the coaching signing at Amazulu. Amazulu's gone through the changes of a new management structure, and now Benny McCarthy comes in. Sebonga Nomvete, the one assistant coach there. So that's, I think, very good for Amazulu. Dan Malisela, Chippa United took us through the most cut December. I don't understand why when they fired their coach and then all of a sudden they called Luke Aimer, or they thought they were calling Luke Aimer, but luckily everybody kind of found a way to stop them, because Luke Aimer is banned in South Africa by SAFA, and they managed to go get Dan Malisela for his 3rd, is it his 4th? I think it's 4th stint at Chippa United. The last one, he only coached for 3 games and he got fired. So hopefully he'll get a little bit more, but Chippa didn't start off well this weekend. And then Owen De Gama's back at TS Galaxy. Tim Sukazi also going through the Chippa Bengezi type of disease happening now, firing coaches like after 9 games. And then a nice one, which I really like, and coupled with the signing today, I think maybe might help put Cape Town City over the hump. Aaron Mokwena coming in as an assistant coach, and also them signing Justin Shonga out of TTM, which I think TTM would have loved that sale. They would have the money that came out of Justin Shonga. They lost a striker, but I think they got quite a lot of money. What do you think about those coaching hires?
You know, for the PSL, it's unfortunate that it's just a bunch of all you can see. It's a merry-go-round, literally. For Gavin, as you mentioned, let me start with Owen Da Gama. Owen Da Gama, he was the coach of Highlands Park, but he wasn't offered the contract when TS Galaxy acquired Highlands Park. And fast forward a couple of months later, Dan Madisela is fired, and then he comes in and coaches at Highlands Park. Tim Sukazi should have given Dan Madisela a bit more time. With the team wasn't doing too badly, but then he pulled the plug on him. And these kinds of moves, where a coach shouldn't be fired, where the team is doing relatively well, and they're not shooting the lights out, but they're doing relatively well. But you destabilize the team, that could come back to bite you at the end of the season. Touch wood though for TS Galaxy. Dan Mandisela, as you said, it's unfortunate that Chippa Mpenge. Whenever you coach Chippa Mpenge, I think you shouldn't get, as a coach and you go to PE, you shouldn't get permanent accommodation.
Don't buy a house.
Don't buy a house. Don't buy a house. And don't get a 12-month rent. Just get, as you said, high Airbnb for 2 months and just see how it goes. But it's unfortunate because he left a really, really good role at Bloemfontein Celtic where he was a club legend and went to the unknown land at Chippa. And I think 2 days before he got fired, he actually said the coach the management has put full faith in me. And I just looked at it. And I just realized. And it was the usual story. Coach gets suspended before he gets fired. And unfortunately, it's these chopping and changing that could get a team really into trouble. And Dan Madisela, he's going back there. But I mean, it's unfortunate. But as South Africans during this time, I mean, he just wants to get back into the thick of things as a coach and not enter a period of inactivity.
Yes.
TTM, as you mentioned, they sold Justin Shonga. As you mentioned, I guess it's them just making a good deal for themselves. A highly priced asset, just getting in a bit of millions in, just to kind of that could be used for other uses for TTM, whatever those uses may be.
I think they fired their social media manager. Like, honestly, when you were sending me that team sheet, and I'm like, okay, other teams do this. They do. But I'm like, but they remember when they started, they had that elaborate lion with all the players on them, with the blue and the yellow, and it was nice. And it wasn't even the players' pictures, but it was their names. Now I'm like, did they fire him? They've stopped congratulating teams for beating them. That's one thing. So that's good. But like, I was like, dude, like, what's going on? But we'll find out. If you know anything about TTM and their social media manager, if they fired him, please let us know. Yeah. T-Man, let's look at this. Yes?
One more thing is Amazulu. I'm really glad that they've got Benny McCarthy into the mix of things. Because the reason why I'm saying this is that there is another youngster who I really believe has the talent of Percy Tau. If not, he has more talent than Percy Tau, and that's Pagamani Mashrambi. I watched the Celtic Amazulu game on the weekend. He was on the bench. I was hoping that he'd come on. He didn't come on, but I'm hoping for that under the guidance of Benny McCarthy and Siabonga Vete, that they can unearth him and make Pagamani wake up and realize his potential. Because we need more Percy Tau. You saw how passionate I was about that story, and I really believe that we really need more Percy Tau. And if there's one player who has the talent, it's Paramani Mashambi, and I'm really hoping that Benny McCarthy
Man,
and Thabang Mbete can really lift the spirits. Sepaman Silela is also there as an experienced player, and Shabos is also there. I'm really hoping that they can lift Paramani Mashambi there. Amazulu.
that's a very dangerous team. But imagine being a striker under Benny McCarthy and Thabang Mbete. Like honestly, it's if you don't improve, then I don't know. Maybe you need to let football go. But let's close out the show, T-Man. Let's look at the fixtures Wednesday and Saturday and Sunday and see what we're going to be watching. What are you looking forward to tomorrow, T-Man? We've got Amazulu versus Kaizer Chiefs at 3:00. It's all the games are in the afternoon because of the curfew. So we would have loved it in the evening, but right now we're going to be watching it in the middle of board meetings. But it's fine. Amazulu versus Kaizer Chiefs. That's a big game for both teams. If Benny can win, it's a statement win for them. And quite frankly, Gavin Hunt needs to take as many 3 points as he can get. And Amazulu are playing a Kaizer Chiefs that's in trouble. That is in 6s and 7s. Super Sport United versus Bloem Celtic. That's also a nice one. Bloem Celtic didn't start off quite well. They hang around 11th. They also need points to get out of where they are. They're normally a top 8 team. Super Sport United are chasing Swallows and Sundowns, and so they need as many points as they can get. And this is their game in hand. TTM versus Orlando Pirates, another intriguing game. I think TTM have surprised everyone, even though they're 2 points ahead of Kaizer Chiefs. They've played better football than what their position gives, but you could see that this was a hastily done season. And but Orlando Pirates as well, they need to find their way, get back to winning ways after that defeat to Sundowns and the draw against Swallows over the weekend. T-Man, what do you think of these three?
But all three fixtures are mouth-watering fixtures. And I'm gonna start with the big one of tomorrow. It's Amazulu up against Kaizer Chiefs at the King's Park Stadium in Durban. The reason why I'm saying this is a big game for Amazulu, they've got Benny McCarthy as their coach. Benny McCarthy wants to establish himself at Amazulu. He really wants to show Sandile Zungu that he is worth he was with the transfer, bringing him back to South Africa and bringing him back as coach of the stint at Cape Town City. Benny McCarthy will be eager to show the South African football fraternity that he can do well without a good crop of players. Because Amazulu doesn't have the same quality of players that he had at Cape Town City. So Benny McCarthy has an opportunity to show us his qualities as a coach. Because when you don't have good quality crop of players, that's when you show us your true potential as a coach. As I mentioned earlier, they've got a gem in Paramani Mashambi. He hasn't shown us his potential in the last 2 seasons. This is the best game for him to show us his comeback. And if he can come on as a sub against Kaizer Chiefs, he can really show us what we've been missing as football fans in South Africa. For Kaizer Chiefs, we mentioned earlier, we spoke in depth about Kaizer Chiefs, so I'm not going to go into too much detail as to why this is a big fixture for them. This is a do-or-die game for Kaizer Chiefs. It's literally a do-or-die game for them. Super Sport United versus Bloem Celtic. The reason why I'm saying this is a great game to watch, Super Sport United finally found their form in the last few games. They're at the top of the table, looking to put pressure on Swallows and Mamelodi Sundowns. Bloem Celtic, they beat Super Sport United. You remember in the MTN 8, they beat them while we predicted Super Sport United to run circles around Bloem Celtic. So Super Sport United will be looking for revenge in this fixture. Bloem Celtic will be looking back and saying, we've beaten this team before, we've done well against them before. Let's kind of get our confidence back against this team that we beat in 2 fixtures in the MTN 8. Orlando Pirates. Many people are complaining about Orlando Pirates' form at the moment. I was on Twitter yesterday and I saw Tyson was trending. The Orlando Pirates fans are not happy with the Bafana captain and his form at the moment. As you mentioned, Joseph Zimbabwe was in a very tough position, whereby you're getting the Bafana captain, you signing the Bafana captain, but now what that puts you in a position whereby your most seasoned defender in Happy Jele is now dropping to the bench. And that's what Orlando Pirates fans are kind of saying, that Tyson is not really playing well in defense for Orlando Pirates, and they're really kind of putting that question mark out there for. Thembiko Silonch has not shown us the potential that he showed 2 seasons ago. For Orlando Pirates, but they've got the players, they've got the quality of players, but they haven't shown us that potential. Gabadino Mpango is finally finding he's playing a little bit more, he's finding his fitness. So hopefully Orlando Pirates will demolish TTM. TTM, you mentioned, they've been the surprise package of our PSL. Although they do have, off the field, let's not batter them for off the field. On the field, they are producing the results. They're showing the firepower. They're playing like a hungry PSL team, and they're really showing us that they've got a good crop of players, and they really, despite them it being haphazard, they are putting good results together, which was shown a couple of weeks this past weekend where they drew 2-2 against Cape Town City. So all three games mouth-watering for various reasons.
Well, you heard it here on One World Sports Radio. T-Man's told you tomorrow Wednesday's games are mouth-watering. Saturday, T-Man, if you look at the fixtures, I'll run through them. Tell me which one you like and why, and I'll only give you one, even though it looks like there's quite a few. Arrows versus TTM. The Tshwane derby between SuperSport and Mamelodi Sundowns, TS Galaxy and Chippa, Baroka and Morocco Swallows, Cape Town City versus Kaizer Chiefs, Black Leopards versus Orlando Pirates, AmaZulu and Maritzburg United. Lots of derbies here. T-Man, what are you looking out for?
It's definitely the Tshwane derby. SuperSport United up against Mamelodi Sundowns. One team needs to stop Sundowns. Sundowns are moving like nobody's business in terms of getting the PSL. It'll get to a point where it becomes mathematically impossible for any other team to win the PSL by February. So we really need to stop Sundowns in their tracks. But big props to Sundowns. It's a team that, unfortunately, we've mentioned earlier on, they've had a bit of unfortunately, they've had to they've had the passing of two former star players for them. But despite that, they've shown the resilience, they've shown the dominance in the PSL season, and all props goes to Mamelodi Sundowns in the way in which they've shown the professionalism that they've shown us in past seasons. They're showing us how hungry they are, despite unfortunately the setbacks that they've experienced this season. They've shown us the resilience, and then it's showing that it's a team that has been it's 4 or 5 years of investment, 4 or 5 years of professionalism. SuperSport United are the team. If there's one team that can stop Sundowns in their tracks, it's SuperSport United. They've got the quality. They've got Bradley Grobler's high on confidence after reaching Abraham Raselemani's goal record for SuperSport United. Sipho Mbule is establishing himself in the heart of midfield. You've got Mokoena Mpho. He's also trying to establish himself, trying to show coach Molefi Nseki that he's deserving of a place in the starting lineup for Bafana Mpho. So this is a game for SuperSport United where they can put pressure on Sundowns, put pressure on Morocco Swallows, and get themselves back on track. So that's my game of the weekend. You said I must choose one, Mpho, and I'll just focus on the game.
Yes, my one would be AmaZulu and Maritzburg United. Yes, it's two, you could call them basement dwellers or bottom half teams, but two teams on an upward trajectory. AmaZulu, an upward trajectory in terms of getting a new coach, a new coaching staff, and he's an established, he's a legend in his name, in Benny McCarthy. And Maritzburg United, who seemingly have found some sort of a way, and that's sometimes what new coaches bring. They bring a little bit of, they up the tempo of the team. So for me, that's the game I'd want to watch. I think it's going to be very interesting and intriguing. If you want to see Justin Shonga dominate, watch at 5 o'clock on Saturday, Cape Town City taking on Kaizer Chiefs. It's going to be very intriguing. Cape Town City have lost games they should have won, and that's very frustrating for them. But they are a well-composed team at the end of it all. They were just missing that number 9, and they found him in Justin Shonga. So I think
we're going to jump in quickly, Dempo. We received news this afternoon that unfortunately Kama Billiat is injured for 2 months for Kaizer Chiefs, and also
I think that's actually going to be a blessing in disguise.
Castro also picked up an injury. So the Kaizer Chiefs team is really They've got a couple of setbacks, and they've got to show their resilience over the next 3 games. And we've mentioned how important the next 3 games are for Kaizer Chiefs. And they unfortunately we received the news this afternoon that Kama Billet is injured. I don't know if I read 2 months. He's out for 2 months, and Castro is also going to be out. But there are good news for Kaizer Chiefs fans is that Reef Rustler is coming back, and so that right back
that's good.
that right back conundrum that we were talking about earlier on, that could be solved for Gavin Hunt. He's not 100% fit, but he is training again. He is running. He is training at the moment in terms of five-a-side, and he's really showing progression in terms of his injury. But Kaizer Chiefs have a uphill battle.
Okay, T-Man, let's close it out from there. You see the fixtures. Please do enjoy the fixtures, viewers, and thank you very much. T-Man, let's close out the show now. Thank you very much for joining. It's a long one, but it's a good one. We spoke quite at length with Percy Tau, Kaizer Chiefs, the coaching changes, and also the fixtures to come.
It's passion, as you know.
Yeah, well, it's the first one of the year. We'll dial it back a little bit more. We missed doing this, so we'll bring it back. But thank you very much, my friend, for joining. And to the viewers, thank you very much for watching. And please do remember to follow us on these various platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or also on YouTube. And yeah, just let's get the word going. We'll be back here next week talking. Maybe things will have changed. Maybe coaches will have been fired. This is the PSL. You don't know, but that's what makes it so great. So please do enjoy your weekend in sport from myself, Mpho, and T-Man. All I can say is, lesale kakachis.